So today's session is about Untangle JavaScript Arrays, in which we are going to talk about JavaScript arrays and the basics of that and various functions that we have and what we can do using JavaScript arrays. Because right now everything is moving towards Lightning and Lightning Web Components. So JavaScript is a very crucial component in all those things. So we'll be talking about the basics and then we'll move to the advanced stuff. A little about me, although Subhatra has already told everything about me, I guess. But yeah, I'm working as a senior Salesforce developer at Manus Technologies, and I have given various sessions at various conferences like Dreamforce, Trailhead DX, Jaipur Developer Fest, India Dreamin, and I'm also adding some blogs and YouTube videos in my free time at sfdcstop.com, so you can check that out in case you're interested. Okay, so without wasting time, let's move on to the agenda. Today we are going to talk about JavaScript arrays, like what are these? Then we'll be talking about some basic methods of JavaScript arrays, and moving forward, we'll move on to the advanced method as well. And at the end, we'll be having a Q&A. Although this sounds to be a very small kind of agenda, but we have a lot to cover. So let's move ahead. Okay, so the first thing is what are JavaScript arrays? So in most languages, you must have heard that an array is a collection of similar data types, right? But if we talk about JavaScript, in that case, an array is a single variable that is used to store different elements, and it is not necessary that all those elements has to be of a similar or single data type as well. They can be of different data types, and still they can be a part of an array. Okay. And every JavaScript array has a length property, which will give you the number of elements in that array. So there are not much properties if we talk about JavaScript array. Only one property is main, which is the length property. And anytime when you want to find the length of an array, you can just use JavaScript array dot length, and it will give you the length of the array. Okay. And I'll be just showing you a little bit of demo side by side when I'm moving towards the slides, so that it's understandable to everyone, right? Are you able to see my VS Code screen or you are still seeing the presentation? Can anyone confirm once?
Yes, we are seeing the VS Code.
Okay, thank you, Subhata. So yeah, let's begin with the basics of JavaScript arrays. So for example, I'm taking an example here. So whenever you want to, initialize an array, you can just choose any kind of variables. You must have heard about var when we declare a JavaScript variable, but according to the latest, you can say standards that we have, we should use let instead of var in JavaScript. When ES6 came in, then these advancements came in, right? So let's say I want to create an array named as numbers. So I can simply initialize an array by the opening and square bracket. So it will create an empty array for me. And in case I want to have an elements in the array, I can simply add like 1, 2, 3, 4, and or anything, right? So for example, I have a fruits array down below in which I have added some fruits like apple, mango, and banana. And I can simply console.log those fruits. And each element in an array starts from an index 0. And moving forward, we have the index increased as we move forward. Like if we move forward from apple to mango and then to banana, the index is increasing from 0 and then to 1 and then to 1 and then to 2 and then so on, right? So for example, I'm displaying here fruits of 0, fruits of 1, fruits of 2. So let's execute this much of code and let's see how it's coming up, right? Okay, so here you can see when I executed this code, I'm able to see my array, which is having three elements, apple, mango, and banana. And if I'm accessing the element at index 0, I'm getting apple. If I'm accessing the element at array 1, sorry, index 1, I'm getting mango. And in case I'm accessing the element at index 2, I'm getting banana, right? So it depends. I mean, it depends which index you are accessing, and you will get the particular element. So for example, if I add another console.log here, and I want to access the element at index 3, because I don't have any further elements. So in that case, let's see what we have. In that case, we are getting undefined because we don't have any kind of element defined at index number 3, right? So it always starts from 0 and then it moves forward. And whenever you want to access any element of the array, you can do that by using the indexes. One thing to notice here or to keep a note of is that in case of JavaScript, all the indexes are always numbers. You cannot have strings as indexes, or you cannot have, I mean, customized keys in case of JavaScript arrays. You have those as numbers only. Okay. Okay, so Batra, just one request. If you can have a look at the chat window side by side, and in case someone has, or you can say 5 or 6 questions are there that are collected, you can just ping me in between and I'll resolve those because I'm
Sure,
focusing out here, right?
sure,
Thank
I
you.
will. Thank you.
Okay, so similarly, I have an array of numbers like you can see. Let me just comment out the code above and I'll show you this as well. Like we have an array of strings above and then I have an array of numbers. I can clear the screen and run this code again. And here you can see that we have 100, 200, 300, which is an array of numbers, right? So what we have learned that it is not necessary in case of JavaScript to have elements of similar data types. Like we have seen here an array of strings, which is again a similar data type, an array of numbers, which is again a similar data type. But now I want to show you an array in which I don't have similar data types. So for example, at index 0, I'm having a value as 100, which is nothing but an integer. At index 1, I'm having a string. And at index 2, I'm having an object. And this object is having two properties, first name and last name. And the first name and last name is Richard and Hendricks, right? So if you execute this code, and you can see that we have an array created in which at index 1 we have number, then we have string, and then we have object. So in case of JavaScript, it's not a hard and fast rule that you should have only similar kind of data types in an array, because like I told before, that in case of JavaScript, it's a single variable storing multiple kind of elements. So it can be anything. It can be a number, it can be a string, it can be an object as well. Okay, so similarly, if I do temp of 0, temp of 1, temp of 2, I can display different elements again and again by using the indexes. So here you can see, if I do temp of 0, it's coming as 100. If I do temp of 1, it is showing me Rahul. And if it's temp of 2, it's showing me an object, right? Okay, so we have understood that we have only single property in an array, and that is the length property, right? So the length property is which will give us the size of the array or how many elements are there in an array. So for example, if I have an array named as big numbers, in which I have 100, 200, 300, 400, and I'm console.logging here the length of the big numbers array, right? So it will give me the length of the array, or I can say the total number of elements that are there in the array, right? So let me just execute this code now. Okay, just give me a second. I guess it's system issue. Yeah. So if you execute this code, you can see I'm getting the length as 4 because we have 4 elements in the array, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in case I add one more element in an array, for example, if I add 500 out here and I run this code again, this time we are getting the length as 5, right? So it depends. I mean, how many elements are there in an array? It is automatically returning you total length of the array. And I am not sure, but if we talk about the complexity of this particular property, it will be, I think, big of 1, because we are not actually iterating all the array and then finding out the length, because it is stored as a property, so it's automatically updated as you add an element or remove an element from an array, right? Okay, so let's move back to our presentation, and let's move on to the next slide. Just a question. Any questions till now, or any kind of queries?
No, Rahul.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the basic methods of JavaScript array now. So if we talk about the basics, what can we talk about? Like how can I add elements in the array, or how can I remove elements from the array, right? So we have 4 methods that are predefined in case of JavaScript arrays for adding and removing elements. These methods are push, pop, unshift, and shift, right? So push method is basically used to add one or more elements at the end of the array. Whenever you have to insert at the end of the array, you should use push, right? If you have to pop the last element from the array, then you can use pop method, because you want to remove the last element and then you want to display that. In that case, you can use the pop method, right? In case you want to insert an element at the front of the array, or I can say at the 0th index and then move the other elements, or you can say one step right, then in that case, you should use the unshift method. And in case you want to remove the first element from the array, you can use the shift method, right? So let's have a look at a demo of these functions as well, and then we'll move forward. Okay, so I am back to my array, which is nothing but a fruits array with apple, mango, and banana. And now our task is to push an element at the end of the array, right? So I can simply do it like fruits.push, and I can add one more element, like let's say pear, which is one more fruit, right? And then I can do console.log and then fruits, right? And this will push another element pear at the end of the array, and it will display me that. So just give me a second. I think it's not saved. Right. So you can see here, initially our array has 3 elements, apple, mango, and banana. And if I'm using the push function, I'm able to add an element at the end of the array. And I can see here that pear is inserted at the end of the array. So I can add as many elements as I want. There is no particular limit. Like even if I add tier1, it is also fine. And it will push all the elements at the end of the array using the push function. Okay. Okay, so let's have a look at what is the pop method is doing. I mean, how we can remove the last element from the array. So I have just commented this code so that we are back to our original array, which is nothing but apple, mango, and banana. And now I'm going to pop one element. So let's say let uh, popped element is equal to fruits.pop. And I can say console.log popped element. Right. So if you execute this code, you can see that banana is popped and I'm able to display that popped element because that popped element is returned from my array. I mean, the pop function is automatically returning me the element which is popped from the array. And in case I just display the fruits array again, so if I just display the fruits array again, then we won't be having banana inside the fruits array because we have popped that element. So that element is removed from the last. We are getting it in this particular variable. And if we display the array again, banana is not there because it is popped, right? Now, let's have a look at how we can push the elements at the start of an array. So this was about the end, whenever you want to insert at the end or remove from the end, right? In case you want to add something at the start of an array, you can use the unshift function, which is nothing but fruits.unshift. And then I can add, let's say, again here, right? And I'm going to do console.log fruits. And let's see. So here you can see this time peer is added at the front of an array because I'm using the unshift function. So whenever, I mean, this is a standard rule. Whenever you have to add at the end, you should use the push function. In case you want to add at the start, you can use the unshift function and it will add the elements at the start of the array. And these functions are not receiving a single element. You can have multiple elements as well. So for example, I do here, let's say orange, right? And I just run this code again. So you can see here, pear and orange both are added at the front of the array. So you can have multiple elements as well, separated by commas, and they will work fine. Okay. And one thing I think I forgot to tell you in the push function as well, that this push and unshift function, they are returning the updated length of the array. So let's say I do here const new length, or let's use let as well. So let new length is equal to fruits.unshift. And if I do here console.log new length, okay. And if I run this code, here you can see the new length is given as 5. So this push and unshift function is automatically returning us the updated length of the array, or you can say the updated size of the array, because you can imagine it like that. Whenever I'm using the unshift function, there's a counter in the basic array implementation, which is incremented by 1, and so that I can directly access that. Okay, so we had a word about how we can push at the start of the array. Now let's see how we can pop the element from the start of the array. Similarly, I mean, like I use the pop function, I can simply do let pop the fruit is equal to fruits dot shift. Okay. So this time, instead of using unshift, I'm using the shift function, but because it will automatically pop the element from the start of the array and it will return me that. So if I just use console.log and then pop fruit, right, then I can see the first element from the array, which is being popped. And in case I display the fruits array again, so let's say console.log fruits. Now you can see apple is popped from the array, and we don't have an apple inside our array now because it's automatically popped, right? Okay, so this is what push and pop and shift and unshift are all about. It actually depends on the use case. I can tell you one use case when I was working on a social media application. Actually, I was creating an application last year. It was kind of a social media application for companies. So what I did, as long as you're adding a new post, I wanted to show that post at the very beginning of my news feed, right? So for example, if you are using Facebook and you are adding a new post or you are posting something on the Facebook, so it is automatically coming at the top, right? So how that's happening, it's basically an array of posts, and whenever you are creating a new post, it is using the unshift function to add that element at the start, and you are having that post at the top. So I mean, you can imagine it like that because I have done this implementation like this only. I have used the unshift function to display my post at the starting of the array. Okay, so let's move back to the presentation and let's see what we have. So there are some more basic methods like isArray method. So isArray method is basically used to check whether the argument that you are passing is an array or not. So for example, you are getting something and you want to check before performing any kind of operation. Suppose you want to push some elements, but before that you want to check whether you are getting an array or not, because sometimes we get undefined, sometimes we get null when we are dealing with JavaScript. So this array isArray method can be used to check. If it's an array, it will return me true, and if the element is not an array, it will return me false, right? Reverse function is used to reverse the elements of the array in place. So in place particularly means that all the elements of the array will be reversed in that particular array itself. So we can say that the original array will be changed. Okay, and we won't be getting any kind of copy. The original array will be changed, right? For each method, it is used to execute a function on every element of the array one by one. So you can specify any kind of function here, and that will be executed on every element of the array one by executing the for each, right? Okay, and the next function is the concat function. So concat function is basically used to, or I should say concat method, because it's defined inside the array. So concat method is used to merge one or more arrays in a single array. So you can specify a number of arrays, and if you want to merge all those arrays, you can use the concat method. Let's have a look at these functions as well, one by one, very quickly, and then we'll move on to the advanced methods, right? Okay, so I wanted to check whether the passed value is an array or not. So I can simply use, let me check if we have the fruits array. Yeah, we have. So I can simply use like array dot is array, and I can pass my fruits array over here, and I can store the result is fruits and array in this variable. Okay, and I can do console.log is fruits and array, right? So if I execute this code, you can see here that I'm getting a true. So it is returning me a Boolean true because the parameter that I have passed inside this is an array, right? In case I'm not passing an array, for example, if I'm passing a string, right? So if I'm passing something like Rahul, okay. So if I run this code again, in this case, I'm getting a false because this is not an array. So whenever you want to check that if your variable is an array or not, you can use the isArray function or method, and it will return you the result. Now let's see how we can reverse the array. So I'm going to reverse my fruits array. And if you see, initially we have apple, mango, and banana. And after reversing the array, we'll be having these elements in reverse. So I can simply do it like fruits dot reverse, right? And if I do console.log and then fruits. Now let's see what happens. So here you can see apple, mango, and banana were there initially. And once I reverted the array, I'm getting banana, mango, and apple. So all the elements are reverted in place and my original array is changed. So it is not giving me a copy. My original array is changed automatically. Okay. Now, let's see how we can use the for each function and what can we do with that. Okay, so I'm picking a very simple example. Let's say we are dealing with Salesforce, and I want to create a helper method to embed namespaces at the end of each and every object, right? So I'm having an array of S objects like account, contact, and lead, and I don't want to append the namespace myself with each and every element. So what I can do, I can simply use S objects dot for each, and what this for each function accepts, it accepts a function, and inside this function you can do anything. It depends on you what operation you want to perform. Inside this function you can do anything, right? And this function always receives three parameters. The first parameter is the value, and this value will be the element of the array one by one. So for example, each element of the array will be received in this function as a value. For example, the first time it will be receiving account, the second time it will be receiving contact, and the third time it will be receiving lead, right? And in case of index, index variable will give us the index of my value one by one. So first time I'll be getting 0 here, second time I'll be getting 1, and third time I'll be getting 2. And the third parameter is the S objects array. So this name can be anything, but it will give me the original array which I'm using or on which I'm applying for each. So the original array is basically given to me as a third parameter inside the function. So these are the parameters that we receive inside the function, and it depends on us. We can pass any kind of function in here, but we'll be receiving these three parameters always. So this is fixed, right? So let's say what I want to do, I want to pick up each element. So I want to pick up each element in my original array. So I'm picking up the original array and I'm getting the array at the current index one by one. and I'm updating the value of that particular element by embedding Chennai WIT underscore underscore to the previous, or you can say to the prefix of the original value, right? So I mean, for example, we can consider it like the first time this for each loop is executing, I'm getting account. So I'm just doing Chennai WIT underscore underscore plus account, and I'm storing it at the original array and zero index, because with the value account I'm getting the index as zero, right? So my original array will be updated with this particular namespace. Similarly, for contact, I'll be getting the index as 1 and value as contact. So I'm just doing Chennai WIT underscore underscore plus contact, and it is stored in the original array at the index 1. So this value is updated, right? Similarly, the lead is updated at index 2. So let me execute this code and let's see how it works. So here you can see my original array is being updated, and I'm getting the values as now Chennai WIT underscore underscore account underscore underscore contact and underscore underscore lead. So it depends on you. How do you want to use this for each function, or what do you want to execute inside this function? You can perform any kind of operation. I have just done one kind of operation here. So either you can update the original array, you can create a new array, you can extract some information. It depends on you. But in case you are using for each element will be coming inside your function one by one. You cannot control like which element is coming. So everything will be coming one by one, right? Okay, so let's learn about concatenating arrays. So concatenating basically means when you are combining two or more arrays, right? So for example, I have created two arrays here. One is small numbers in which I have 1, 2, and 3. And one is big numbers in which I have 100, 200, and 300, right? So what I'm doing here like small numbers, and I have used the concat function, and I have passed big numbers over here. So just remove this very big numbers for now. So I have just concatenating big numbers with small numbers. Now let's see what we have, right? Okay. So if I execute this code, you can see that in my small numbers array, I had 1, 2, 3. So I have console.log that, I'm getting 1, 2, 3. If I console.log the big numbers array, I'm getting 100, 200, and 300. And in case I console.log my numbers array, so in this case, I'm getting 1, 2, 3, and then 100, 200, and 300, right? So these two arrays are concatenated, and as a result, or I can say as a return value, I'm getting another array, which is the concatenation of both. So the original arrays are not affected in this case. It's just that the concatenated array is returned to us as a response, okay, from the method. Similarly, let's say if I have one more array, like very big numbers, like, and I have, let's say, 1000, then 2000, then 3000. So I can concatenate as many arrays as I want. So I can simply pass here very big numbers, and I can run this code again, right? So here you can see this time I'm getting all the concatenated arrays in one. So 1, 2, 3, 100, 200, 300, and then 1000, 2000, and 3000, right? So this is how you can perform concatenation, or I can say you can combine one or more arrays. Definitely, there are much better and other options as well. So we'll talk about these as well at the end. But this is how you can basically perform the concatenation. Okay, so any questions till now?
Rahul.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think if anyone just can add a comment, that will be good for me. Uh, if it's understandable to everyone or anything. Okay, then let's move ahead. So let's move to the advanced method of JavaScript arrays. So you must have used, I guess, the push, pop, unshift, shift, and all those basic methods of JavaScript array. But the advanced method of JavaScript array, people are not using these usually. I mean, what I have seen till now, people are using a for loop instead of a find function. So let's talk about JavaScript arrays, the advanced method, and how we can use that, right? So we have a number of advanced methods. Like first method I want to talk about is the find method. So it will automatically find, or you can say perform a linear search inside your array, and it will return you the element that you want to get. And it will automatically check according to the function that you are passing in parameter that which kind of array or which kind of element you want to get from the array. Okay. Similarly, we have the findIndex method, which will return me the index of the first element of the array that passes the check inside the function provided in the parameter. And then we have the filter method, which will return me a new array with all the elements that pass the check inside the function provided with the parameter. And then we have a sort method as well, which will sort the array in place. Again, in place here means that you are updating the original array, right? And it will return you the sorted array. And this method takes a comparator function inside the parameter. So this is very interesting. We'll talk about what is a comparator function and how we can sort the array actually, right? And we'll talk about all these. So let's move ahead and let's see how these functions work. Okay, so this time I'm taking a complex example because we are moving towards the advanced method of the array. So I mean, this happens in Salesforce, like,
Rahul, sorry for the
yeah.
interruption. Yeah, we have a question. Mary Jabba Princy has asked, in forEach function, is all parameters required?
No, Mary, all the parameters are not required. You can have a single parameter as well. It depends on you. All the parameters are not required at all. But I mean, I recommend you to at least have one parameter because we use for each function with one parameter as well. So you can just have value and you cannot specify the other parameters. That's also fine. That will work. Okay, thank you. So we were talking about the advanced method, right? So let's move ahead. So in Salesforce, if we talk about, we have very complex data that we are returning from our FX controller, and then we are using that in our Lightning components, right? So there are some scenarios when we have to, let's say you want to apply a search when you are typing something, and then you want to search in your table, or you want to apply any kind of you can say complex operations in your array. So that's why I'm taking a complex array, which is an array of objects in which each object has two properties, name and age. So I have an array of persons here where we have different persons like Jin Yang, Richard, Monica, Alec, Dinesh, Guilfoyle, etc., etc. Right? Okay, so let's learn about the find function first, and let's see what happens. So I have a scenario here. I want to find all those persons, or let's say I want to find one person inside my array, which is having an age which is greater than 20, and it is having an age which is less than, I guess, 30, right? So I can use the find function to find a person which is having an age less than 30 and greater than 20. So let me just execute this code, and then we'll see how it's working. So here you can see if I executed this code, I'm getting in my result an object which is nothing but an element of my array, right? And this object is having a name as Richard and it is having an age as 25. So if I just start from the beginning, I can find a person whose age is greater than 20 and less than 30. So I'm getting this particular person, right? And this is returned to me in the response. So how it's working? I am actually using the find function on the person's array, and this function will receive again a function inside a parameter, and this function is actually going to give me each and every element one by one. And here I want to specify, or I can say I have to return the condition based on which I'm going to find my element, right? So here I want to find a person whose age is less than 30, and I want that my person age is greater than 20. Now, I mean, this syntax is quite difficult to understand. So let's break it one by one and let's see how we can do. So for example, let's say we have an array of persons and I want to find a person whose age is less than 30 and greater than 20, right? So how we do it in normal programming languages. So for example, I'll just do a for loop, right? For let I is equal to 0, and then I'll do I is less than, let's say, persons dot length, right? And I'll do I plus plus, and inside this for loop I'll check that if my persons of I dot age is less than 30, right? And I'll check that if my persons of I dot age is greater than 20, right? Now I'm going to let me just declare one more variable, let new person, or I can say resultant person, right? And I can simply say that if this condition is successful, I'm going to say that the resultant person is equal to my current person, which is nothing but persons of I, and I'm going to break this loop. Okay. And finally, I'm going to add a console.log, and I'm going to add here resultant person, right? This is what we'll do if we want to find a person with the age less than 30 and age greater than 20, right? So this is, I think I I expect that this syntax is understandable to everyone because we have done this a couple of times before in other programming languages as well, right? So if I execute this code, you can see that I'm getting the same output. I'm getting the person as Richard and age as 25, because if I start from the beginning, the first person which is having an age greater than 20 and less than 30 is Richard, right? So how I can assume this find function? I can assume that inside this find function, JavaScript is going to have a similar kind of implementation, right? And what we want to keep in this particular if condition, it depends on the return value of the function that I'm passing inside find. So this is a very important concept, that whatever you have inside your if condition, or whatever JavaScript is going to apply inside this if condition, it is the return value of the function that you are passing inside your find method. Whatever function you're passing inside find and whatever value you are returning here, so it depends whether this condition will be true or false. So you have to return a condition inside your function, and this condition will be applied here automatically. So this is how a find function is actually working in JavaScript, and it is giving you the result, right? Okay, so we can simply do %.find. We can just pass a function which will receive one by one each and every person, and I can specify that if the person.age is less than 30 or greater than 20, return that person. So it will return me that particular object, right? So you can assume that the implementation is something like this in the JavaScript, but we don't need to do all this. We can simply use the find function to get the result, right? Okay, so this is how a find function is actually working in JavaScript, and I can simply execute this code again to see that we are getting the same result. Okay, and in case you are aware with ES6 syntax, you can do all this thing in a single line as well. So let me just show you that quickly, because this is a very old syntax. Now after ECMAScript 6, we can do it in one line. So I can simply remove all this, and I can add a like what is this called, a big fat arrow, and I can remove the return keyword as well, and it will do the job for me. So this syntax is equivalent to what we have done above. So I'm getting a person inside my parameter one by one. I'm checking that the condition, and I'm returning this value. So if I just execute this code, it will again return me the same result. This is just a different syntax of doing the same thing. It is just a kind of shortcut, you can say, right? Okay, so let's see how the findIndex function is working. So in case you are quite good with the find function, then the other functions are very easy to understand because they are doing the same thing. They are just returning different values. So instead of find, I have just applied findIndex, and the rest of the code is perfectly same. So if I just uncomment this one, here you can see instead of find, I have just used findIndex, and what it will do, it will return me the index of the element which is satisfying this particular condition. So if I just run this code once. Okay, just give me a second. I guess it's not compiled. Yeah. So here you can see I'm getting the value as 1 because the element which is satisfying the condition is at the index 1 inside my array, right? So it is giving me the index of the value which is satisfying my condition. So in case you want to find the index, you can use the findIndex function. And now the next question that we can have, if we look at the array, we can have that you can ask me that, hey Rahul, we are having different values. Like we are having Richard also, who is having an age between 20 and 30. We are having Monica also, who is having an age between 20 and 30. We are having Dinesh also, who is having an age between 20 and 30, right? So why are we always getting Richard? I want to get all the elements which are satisfying my condition, right? So this can be a question that you want to get all the elements, not just a single element which is satisfying your condition. You want to find everything, right? So what you can do, that is also very easy in JavaScript. We'll be using the same syntax, but we'll be applying the filter function instead of find. So find function was actually returning you the first element of the array, which is kind of, you can say, accepting or which satisfies the condition. But filter function will automatically return you the elements, or you can say it will return you an array with all the elements that are satisfying your condition. So it is the same condition, so it will return you all the elements that are satisfying your condition, and that those elements will be stored in the result filter array. So let me just execute this code and let's see what happens. So here you can see I have just instead of find, I have just used filter, and I'm getting all the persons who are having an age greater than 20 and less than 30. So I'm getting Richard as well, I'm getting Monica as well, and I'm getting Dinesh as well, right? So in case you want to find all the elements, you can use the filter function. In case you want to find just the first element which is satisfying the condition, you can use the find function, right? Okay, so this is about the filter. Now let's see how we can use the sort function inside JavaScript. So how we can sort the array. So this is a little, I can say, not complex, but will make it easier to understand. So let's begin. In case of sorting, JavaScript actually convert each and every element into a string. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It converts it into a string and it performs the default sorting. But JavaScript has given us an option to find, or you can say to add your own comparator function, which will help you to do the sorting, right? So this is similar. I mean, inside the JavaScript, something like a for loop is happening, and you can say a sort algorithm like a quick sort or merge sort is happening, and it is checking or comparing two elements and then doing the sorting, right? So what JavaScript is telling us, JavaScript has told us that in case you want to sort an array, you can pass a comparator function inside the sort function, and uh, now it depends on the condition inside your comparator. So for example, you want to keep one element before the second element, right? Before the second element. So it is comparing two elements each time, right? So in case you want to keep the first element before the second element, you can return -1. In case you want to keep the first element after the second element, you can return 1. And in case you don't want to do anything, I mean, you don't want to affect, or you can say you just want to have them randomly arranged. You don't want to do anything. In that case, you can return 0. So it depends on us. How do you want to sort the array? So for example, I want to sort the array of my persons according to the names that I am having. Like I want to sort this array according to the names alphabetically, right? So I can simply compare the person names, that if person first name is less than person second name, I'm going to return -1, because if the name is smaller, I want to keep the person one on the left of person two, right? I'm going to keep it before the person two. In case my name is greater than person two name, so in case I'm getting a name which is alphabetically greater than the second name, I want to keep my person one after the person two. So that's why I'm returning -1 here, right? Because I want to keep the first element after the second element. So I should say here first, right? So in case you want to keep it before the second element, you should return -1. In case you want to keep it after the second element, you should return 1 here. And in case you don't want to do anything, you should return 0 here, right? So this is how, I mean, my comparator function is made, and it is going to check all the elements, all the two elements one by one, and it is going to compare two elements. So instead, I mean, inside you can most probably, what I think, quick sort is applied, and two elements are compared, and it is checking according to your condition, because this condition is again a part of some if inside the row JavaScript code, you can say, and it will automatically check if the condition is true, or if your condition is returning -1, it will do something. It will keep the first element first. If your condition is returning 1, it will keep the first element after, and otherwise it won't do anything, right? Let's run this code first and let's see how it's working, right? So here you can see I'm able to sort my persons array according to the names that I'm having. So initially the array was this, but I'm getting Dinesh and then Alec, then Gilfoyle, then Jinyang, then Monica, then Richard. So I'm getting it alphabetically, A, D, E, G, J, M, R, right? Now you may have a question that Rahul, I want to sort these functions or sort these persons according to the age, because right now if I see I'm getting 22, then 35, then 30, then 20, and then something else, right? So you can do that as well. If I just replace this name with age, it will do the same thing for me. So let me run this code again. And here you can see this time I'm getting all the elements sorted by age. So this time I'm getting 20, 22, 25, 26, 30, 35, etc., etc. Right? So this is how, I mean, you can sort the array by using the sort function. The only thing that you need to pass in is the comparator function, which will check if your first element is less than second, it will return -1. That means you want to place the first element before the second. If you want to place the first element after the second, you should return 1, and otherwise you should return 0. Even you can add a console.log in this function as well. So I can simply say here like, let's say comparing, and then I can say person one dot name, okay, and then I can say with, and then I can say person to dot name. So this is very interesting to see that which all comparisons are happening. You can actually see how it's working inside, right? If I run this code, here you can see this is the comparisons that JavaScript is performing. It is comparing Richard with Jin Yang, Monica with Richard, Alec with Monica, Dinesh with Alec, Dinesh with Monica, Dinesh with Richard, Dinesh with Jin Yang, Gilful with Richard, Gilful with Alec, and Gilful with Monica. And finally, it is giving us the result where the array is sorted according to the age. So these are the comparisons that are actually being performed when the sorting is happening. So yeah, this is how the sorting is happening in JavaScript. And I guess we are done with this particular slide. So any questions till now? Even findIndex will also return the first occurrence. Yeah, findIndex will also return the first occurrence. You're right. Any other questions? Okay, I guess no. Let's move forward then. So these are about the advanced method of JavaScript arrays, and I think the most interesting one was the filter and the sort method. That how the sorting is happening inside the array, right? And I guess you all are. I mean, the comparator function is clear to everyone. So let's move on to some more advanced methods. So these are the three more advanced methods that I want to share. One is the splice method, second is map method, and third is reduce method. So you must have heard about map and reduce when we talk about JavaScript or even in other programming languages. So let's see what are these and what is a splice method, right? So if we talk about splice method, this method updates the array by removing or replacing the existing elements or adding new elements in place. So I mean, I have used this method personally in one of my tutorial where I was creating a to-do list. So I was creating actually a list of numbers, and here what I wanted that if I click on the delete button onto the second element in the list, then that particular element should be deleted from the array, right? Because at the end I was definitely maintaining an array. So in case you want to remove some element, some particular element, or in case you want to replace the existing elements in the array and add new elements instead of that, you can use the splice function, right? In case you want to perform a function on each and every element of an array and you want to return the new array, you can use the map function. And what the reduce method does, this method executes a reducer function on each element of the array, resulting in a single output value. And this value, I mean, it is mainly used for calculating an accumulated result. So for example, I mean, we'll see the examples in the demo, but reduce function basically is used to calculate, or you can say find a cumulative sum or something. Whenever you want to find a sum, you want to find I mean, you want to add something, you want to subtract something, you want to multiply something, or you want to perform an operation collectively, and you want to store the results one by one into a single particular element. Then you should use the reduce function, right? Okay, so let's move on to the demo. Then it will be more clear. Let me just comment this code, and I guess so. No, it's not working fine. Let me just check if we are missing something. No, everything is fine. I guess it should work fine. I just need to give it 1 or 2 seconds. So let's learn about splice function first, right? So I'm not going to uncomment this one. First of all, let's learn how we can remove the elements. So initially we have a person's array, which is having these elements like Jin Yang, Richard, Monica, Alec, Ganesh, and Gilfile. And let's say you are telling me that Rahul, I want to remove the element which is at the second index. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, right? So you want to remove the element which is at the second index. So how I can do? I can simply use the splice function, which is nothing but I can do it like this, persons.splice, right? Now, inside my splice function, the first parameter will be the starting index. That is from the index where you want to remove the elements, right? So I want to remove the elements from the second index. Now I should pass how many elements I want to remove starting from that index. So I just want to remove one element and that's it, right? So if I just do console.log and then persons, and let's see how it goes. So here you can see I have removed one person starting from index 2. Let's check it out. So this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2. I have removed one person or one element from my array starting from index 2. So starting from this index, I have removed one element. That's why Monica is removed, and I'm getting Jin Yang, Richard, Alec, Dinesh, and Gilfoyle, right? Similarly, let's say you are telling me that I don't want to remove one element, I want to remove two elements, right? So I want the second element to be removed as well, starting from index 2. So starting from this index, I want these two elements to be removed. So if I just run this code again, here you can see now Alec is also removed because I'm starting from index 2 and I'm removing two elements. So Monica and Alec both are removed and I'm getting these four elements as a result. So this is actually, you can say, changing the original array because we are performing splice on that particular array. And starting from index 2, we are removing two elements. So this is what we need to take a note of, that the first parameter is always the index. The second parameter is always the number of elements you want to remove. Now, I can have a condition where I want to replace these elements. So I just don't want to remove these elements, but I want to add new elements instead of these elements as well. So that is also possible. I can simply add a new person with the name, let's say, plus Hanneman, okay, and the age as, let's say, 32, okay, and I can add one more person, let's say, with the name as Gavin Wilson, okay, and I want to have a age of, let's say, 35, right? And that's it. So I can add more elements as well in the third parameter. So how many elements I mean, a number of elements I can specify, doesn't matter whether it's one or two or n number of elements, and those elements will be added starting at index 2 itself. So now what will happen, starting at index 2, two elements will be removed, and instead of those two elements, these two elements will be added. So I expect that between Jin Yang and Richard, I think, or I think between, let me just check quickly. Yeah, between Richard and Dinesh, I should get two new elements instead of Monica and Ali, right? Let's run this. So here you can see between Richard and Dinesh, which is starting at index 2, because this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. Starting at index 2, I have removed these two elements, which is Monica and Alec. And instead of these, I have added two more elements, which is nothing but Russ Hanneman and Gavin Belson. So in case you want to add n number of elements, those will be added starting at index 2 only. So let's say I just add one more person here, and I'm not able to think of a name. Let's name it as Gavin Belson 1, and it is 34. So it is the brother of Gavin Belson. Okay. And here we are getting Gavin Belson 1 as well. So all these elements will be inserted at the same index that you have specified. So starting from this particular index, these number of elements will be removed and these elements will be inserted at the same position, right? So this is how a splice function is working in JavaScript, which is used to remove the elements and add new elements in place in case you want that, right? So next time, whenever you are creating a table and you want to click on the delete button and you want to remove one particular entry from the table, you can simply remove it from your array by using the splice function, and you can do an apex call as well so that it's removed from Salesforce in case you are connecting with Salesforce, right? Okay, so the next function is the map function in JavaScript. So let's see what is a map function and what can we do with that, right? Map function, as I told you, let me just read this once again. So map function is going to return me a new array formed by applying a function to each element of the original array, right? So I'm applying a function to each element of the original array, and it is going to return me a new array depending upon the return value that I have passed in my function. So what I want, let's say I have a scenario that, hey Rahul, I just want to extract the names of these person. I don't want any other information. I just want to extract the names of these person, right? So how I can do that? I can simply use persons.map, and inside this again I can pass a function where we have a value and an index and then person. So it is similar to the function like we have read above, which is having three parameters: value, index, and persons. So in this case, I'm just using one parameter. Let me just remove the others. So I'm just using value, and I'm returning the name of the person from my function. So what it will do, it will automatically pick up the name of each and every person. So I mean, you can name it anything. I have named it value, but it is actually a person object which is coming one by one. You can pick up the name of the person one by one, and it is going to make an array, and it is going to return me that particular array, right? And now I'm displaying this array. Let's run this. So here you can see I'm having a name of, or I should say, an array of names, and all these names are coming in my array, right? So what this map function is doing, it is performing this particular function on each and every element, and it is going to combine, or you can say make an array by using the return value that I'm having inside my function, and it is going to return me that array, and I can simply display that array, right? So it can be used for different purposes. Like a very simple example was this, where I want to extract the names, and I have a complex example as well. So for example, let's say you want to add one more property to all your persons, right? So right now I have just two properties, name and age, on all my persons, right? But I know that all these persons belong to a text field, right? So they all have a similar quality, that they are all technical persons, right? Like us, okay? So what I want to return an object here, because map is going to give me an array at the end, right? So in that particular array, I want that each and every element of my array should be an object, where it should have everything which is there in my value, and it should have one more property which is nothing but text, right? So if I just run this code, here you can see that our original array was like this, where I am having name and age, but our updated array is having one more property, which is nothing but quality. So my original array is not updated in this case, because my map function is going to return me a new array, and this new array is having another property, which is named as quality, right? So you can use it for different purposes. It depends on the use case, how you want to use map. But the basic definition is that whenever you want to perform a function on each and every element, and you want to construct a new array by the updated value of that particular of that particular element, right? So in that case, you should use the map function, right? Okay, so this is how a map function is working. And in case you are wondering about this particular syntax, that three dots and then a value, so this is basically a spread operator, and I'll show you what it is moving forward. So we already have it covered, so don't worry about this. But basically, for now, you can just consider that I'm having the original object, and then I'm adding one more property. So it is breaking down the original object properties like name and age, and it is having it there like name colon something and age colon something, and then a comma, and finally I'm having a quality and then text. So this new object is being returned, and it is stored in an array, and finally that array is returned. Okay, so this was all about map function. Now let's move on to the reduce function. So what reduce function is doing, it is actually used for some kind of accumulation. So for example, I'm taking a scenario that, hey Rahul, I want to find out what is the sum of all the ages that I have inside person. So I want to calculate the average age, right? And I want to find out that how many ages are there in total, and then I'll divide it by the total length of the array, and I am able to find the average age, right? So either I can execute a for loop and add the age one by one and do that complex stuff, or I can simply use a reduce function to reduce the accumulated ages into a single parameter, or a single variable, I should say, and I can display that age, right? So what I'm doing, I'm applying the reduce function, which is nothing but persons.reduce. And this reduce function basically receives again a function inside the parameter. So all these are having kind of similar syntax, where you have to pass a function, and inside this function, you have to tell what you want to do, right? So this function is basically having two parameters. The first is accumulated person, and the second is current person. So the accumulated person is nothing but an object which is having the accumulated value, and the current person is the current, you can say, current value of the array one by one. So if you have an array like this, then in the current person we are getting this object or this person, then we are getting this person, then we are getting this person, then we are getting this person. So we are getting all the persons one by one in the current person. And in the accumulated person, we are having a single object. So you can just assume it that it is having a single object which is having a property of age. And I'm going to add all these ages into that particular age. And then finally, I'm going to return this particular object. Okay. So, and I actually, if I talk about this particular property or this particular parameter, it is defined by the return value that you're returning from your reduce function, right? So here I'm returning a object which is having a property which is age. So I'm returning this particular object from here, which is having a property age. And what it is going to have, it is going to have the existing age with whatever it's having. So initially, you can consider that it is having a value as 0, and it is going to add the current person age, and then it is again going to return me the same object. So you can just consider it like, the accumulated person was an object with age 0 initially. And then I came across this current person. I added this age to my accumulated person.age, and I again returned an object where the age was having the updated age. So initially it was 0, then it became 20. Then I came across another person which was having an age as 25. I added it to my accumulated person age. So this time my age was 20. So 20 plus 25, it is going to be 45, and I returned that. So it is returned and it is again received here. So it is going to be received again and again. So it is kind of a circular thing, you can say. I'm returning it from here and I'm receiving it once again here. But the only difference is that the current person is updated each time. So each time you're getting a new person and you're adding its age and you're returning an object, and that object is received again here, right? So this is how, I mean, it's working. So let's execute this code and let's see if we have a total age or not. So you can see here, I have a new object returned from my reducer function, which is having a property as age, and the total age is 158. So if you just sum up all these ages, like 20 plus 25, 26, 35, 22, 30, or let me just do it quickly if we can do, right? So I'm having 20 plus 25 plus 26 plus 35 plus 22 plus 30, and I'm having the result as 158. So here you can see I'm getting the age as 158. So whenever you want to perform some kind of accumulation like this, you can use the reduce function. Although it's, I mean, I haven't came across a scenario really where I can use this, but in some case maybe it's useful. So it depends on the use case totally, right? So this is how a reduce function is working, and this is how the accumulation happens. So I mean, that's all about the advanced functions in JavaScript. And let me just see if we have any questions. Okay, how to remove the element by value if the index is not known? So you can simply use the findIndex function, Rutika, because the findIndex function is going to check each element one by one according to your condition, and it is going to return you the index of the element which is satisfying your condition, right? So it is going to return you that. Please let me know if it's clear. Otherwise, I'll just show you a demo once. Okay, so we have another question. If we have a starting index and the number of elements to remove as 2, then we are adding 3 elements to replace. Will this work? Yeah, this will work. Let me just show you that quickly. Let me just show you these. I mean, let me just give you the answers to both the questions quickly. So the first question was how to remove the element if index is not known. So we have learned about find index, right? So in this case, I want to find the index of a person whose name is, let's say, Richard, right? So I just have a value. I don't know the index of this person. So I can simply return that person whose name is equal to Richard, right? And I can do console.log result index. Okay, so I'm good. If I execute this code, here you can see I'm getting the index as 1. So here I'm finding the index according to the value that I have, right? So this is how you can use the findIndex function to find the index of any element of the array according to the value that you have, right? Okay, that will work for a single element. How to remove multiple elements? I think if the index is not known, how to remove multiple elements, either you have to do it one by one, or you can use the splice function in case those elements are, you can say, in a single line, or one, or those elements are adjacent. In that case you can use the splice function, or otherwise you have to find each element, because in case your elements are dispersed in an array, one is at index 2, one is at index 50, one is at index 25. So you have to find those indexes first, and then you have to remove those elements, right? I hope it's clear. Yeah, thank you. And let's move on to the second question. If we have the starting index, if we have the starting index and the number of elements to remove as 2, and we are adding 3 elements to replace, will this work? Let me show you that as well. And Rutika, maybe there is some other better way as well to remove multiple elements at different indexes. And I mean, I'll check that once again and I'll get back to you. But as of now, I'm not aware of any. So this is one way that we can do. So we can use a splice function to add 3 more elements. This is what I guess Nasru is saying, right? So I think we have done this already. We have added 3 more elements and we have removed only 2. So Russ Henneman, Gavin Belson, and Gavin Belson 1. We have added 3 elements and we have removed 2. Let me just clear the console and run it again. So here you can see in my original array, I'm removing two elements starting from index 2. So I'm removing Monica and Arlik. These are not there. And in place, I have added three more elements: Russ Henneman, Gavin Belson, and Gavin Belson 1. So we have already done this thing. So I hope it's fine. It's clear. If you can just tell me once. Okay, I guess it's clear then that we have removed two elements and we have added three elements in place of that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's move ahead. So this was all about advanced method of JavaScript arrays. I have tried my best to tell you in the simplest possible way I can, and the rest I think you can practice it out, and you will get better at these methods, right? So I have a bonus for you, which is a spread operator in JavaScript, because this was not in the agenda, and this is a very interesting operator that I wanted to talk about, and I recently came across the requirement, and I'll tell you that as well. So let's learn about the theoretical stuff first. Spread operator is basically used to expand the array into multiple elements. It is denoted by three dots. So these are the three dots that I was using before, remember? And it is used to identify, it is also used to identify the rest parameters in JavaScript functions. So we'll also see what are rest parameters. And one common application of spread operator are creating the copy of an array or concatenating two arrays, etc. Right. So let's see what is a spread operator and how we can use that. I think we are done with this file. Yeah, we are done. So let's learn about spread operator. Now, I have a question for all of you, and I want all of you to participate. Please, it's a request, okay? So I have my fruits array, like apple, mango, and banana, and I created a copy of the fruits array, right? Like fruits copy is equal to fruits. And then I'm console.logging this fruits and fruits copy, right? So what do you think? What will be my result? I mean, what will be displayed out here? Let's see that first. So I have just initialized one array named as fruits. I assigned it to a different variable named as fruits copy, and I'm console.logging both the arrays. What will I get? Okay, so we have a lot of people. Can you start telling your answers? I'm waiting for that. Clone of the same array. So yeah, thank you, Mary, for the response. Anyone else? Those three dots will avoid reference problem, I think, and I'm very interested to learn all the functionality. So Nasru is putting up a good guess, I guess. Ritika is saying same values. Okay, thank you. So let's see what happens when we execute this code. So every one of you is correct. I think we are getting the same values and a copy of the array is created, right? Now let's see what happens. What I'm doing, I'm just updating one index and I'm displaying these array again. So let's see what I did here. I just updated the element and index 0 and I updated it to peer, right? So in the fruits array, I'm saying that the index, that the element and index 0 will be peer and not apple, right? Now I'm again console.logging fruits and fruits copy. Now I want to ask you that what will happen? What will be the result? So I initialized the fruits array. I created a copy of it. I updated the fruits array, but the copy is not updated actually. I haven't updated that, and I am displaying both the variables. What will happen? I think Subhatra, we should have a timer as well. Like you have 10 seconds. Okay, so Nasru is saying both arrays will have same value. I should say 15 seconds left. Come on. What are your responses? Fruits will change, copy won't. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so I guess I have received responses from the most interactive people out there. Rutika, would you like to say something? Okay, then let's see what happens. I'm going to clear the console and run it again. So here you can see both the values are changed because I mean I have only changed my fruits array, but both the values are changed. Like if I display my fruits array, it is giving me peer. If I display my fruits copy array, it is giving me peer as well. So both the values are changed in both the arrays, right? So why this is happening? This is happening because if I do this kind of thing, if I just I'm assigning one variable to another in JavaScript, it is actually assigned by reference. So this is just another name for the same array which is created in the memory. And that is why if I'm changing one element of the array, it is actually changing both the elements. Or I can say it is changing the copy as well, because both are referring to the single array, and this array is stored in the memory, right? So I can say that both the arrays will have same value. Nasru was the winner out of this, right? So, this was actually a real-time scenario. I got a call from one of my friend, and she was saying that I want to keep an array copy, and she was displaying that array elements in a table, and she wanted that if I'm updating the table and I'm saving that, only one array should be changed, so that in case I don't update, I press the cancel button, I should get the previous values back. So she wanted to actually store the previous values so that she can get it back if we are pressing the cancel button and we are not saving the array after updation, right? So in that case, she was doing something like this, and this was not working, and then we figured out how we can do that. Now let's see. So I mean, this is definitely not a good way to create a copy of an array. Now let's see how we can create a copy. I'm just going to comment this out, and I guess we can move ahead. So we can create a copy of the array by using the spread operator. Now let's see how spread operator is working. So what I have done, I have my fruits array again. Let me just comment it out from above as well. Okay. So I have my fruits array again, which is having three values, apple, mango, and banana. And I have created a new array named as fruits copy. And I'm using the spread operator here. So these three dots are basically known as a spread operator. Why? Because it is going to spread my fruits array into multiple elements. So you can say that this fruits won't be considered as an array here, but it will be multiple elements separated by comma. So you can say will be having, I mean, this particular statement will be replaced by apple, comma, mango, comma, banana. So we'll be having another array with these elements, and this new array will be stored in the fruits copy. So let me just execute this code and let's see what happens first of all. So I'm having two arrays, apple, mango, banana, right? And now I'm performing the same operation again. So I'm changing fruit 0 to pear, and I'm displaying the fruits as well as the fruits copy. Now let's see what happens. So now you can see only one of my arrays changed and my fruits copy is not changed, right? So in this case, I'm able to create a copy of my fruits array very clearly, and this is not changed. Why? Why is this working? Because I have declared a new array here. So by using the opening and closing braces, I have used brackets. I have declared a new array here, and I'm saying that all the elements of this array, or I can say this array is broken down into multiple elements, and those elements are actually a part of this array. So I have just copied all the elements in a way into this new array, and these two are now different elements or different arrays which are pointing to different memory locations. So this is how you can create a copy of the array by using the spread operator. And even if I update the first array, the second array is not updated, it remains the same, right? So this is how you can create a copy of the array, right? And I just want to tell you one more thing. I mean, this is not very useful, I can say, or commonly useful, I should say, not very useful. So it is not commonly useful, but in case you have an array inside an array, so in case you have some complex structure, like you have an array inside an array, and you want to create a copy of this kind of structure, and you are using this syntax dot 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 and then fruits. If in case you are using a spread operator, then this may not create a good copy of the array in case you are having a complex structure like this. So in case you are having something like this, I would recommend you to use, let's say, fruits one is equal to JSON.parse, and inside this, I'm going to use JSON.stringify, and then I can use fruits. So this is again a similar way to create a copy of the array. So let's say I just replace this fruits copy, and instead of this, I'm using this, right? So I can use it like fruits copy. So this is again a new way to create a copy of the array, and it will work as well, right? But I would recommend you to use this syntax in case you have a very complex array, like you have arrays inside arrays, because if we talk about this spread operator, it will just go one level deeper inside your array and not multiple levels. So in case you have a multiple level hierarchy inside your array, I would recommend you to use JSON.parse and then JSON.stringify. It is doing nothing. It is just converting this array into JSON string, and then it is passing that JSON string, and automatically a copy is created, and that copy is stored out here, right? So yeah, this is just information that in case you have a very complex structure, rely on this and don't rely on this particular thing. Otherwise, I mean, most of the 90% of the cases are solved if you are using this particular spread operator syntax for creating the copy, right? Okay, so I guess we have a couple of questions. Memory will be created once, and reference is given to a new one. I think during JSON.parsing will have any performance impact. Uh, Memory will be created once, and reference is given to a new one. I think reference is given to a new one. Yeah, I mean it is one all the other the same thing. When you're using the spread operator, memory is created and the reference is given to a new variable, because anyways we are using a new variable for that. And doing JSON.parse and JSON.stringify will have a performance impact. You can say yes, because it takes some time, but I mean, doing wrong thing or getting into an issue because of spread operator, it's better to use JSON.parse and JSON.stringify. But yeah, in again, 90% of the cases are solved by the spread operator. It is a very complex scenario when you have very complex data structure. In that case, you should use JSON.parse and stringify. Question about JSON: what is the use of JSON.parse and JSON.stringify? When to use what? I think, Rutika, I'll get back to your question at the end of the session, and we'll talk about JSON as well. Okay, so no worries, we'll get back to this. I just want to cover the other points first. Okay, so we are talking about spread operator, and we have seen one application that is creating the copy of the array, and let's see the other application that is concatenating two arrays. So we learned about the concat function whenever we were concatenating. I think, yeah, we have used this concat function to concatenate multiple arrays, right? So you can also concatenate the arrays by using the spread operator. Let's see how. So let's say I want to concatenate two arrays. So I can do it like this. So here I have one array, which is fruits one. It is having two elements, apple and mango. And I want that my fruits two array should have all the elements that are inside my fruits one. And it should have pear as well, and it should have banana as well. And if I'm displaying fruits two, then it will display me all the elements. So let me just execute this code and let's see how it goes. So here you can see I'm getting all the elements: apple, mango, pear, and banana, right? So this fruits one array is being concatenated in fruits two array, and I'm getting the result in fruits two array. It depends where you are placing this fruits one array, and it will be broken down into multiple elements. So these three dots, these are basically just breaking the array into elements, right? So I can place it, I can remove it from here, and I can place it in between as well. It doesn't matter. So if I place it here and I add a comma, and this should also work, right? So I'm getting apple and mango between the pear and banana. I can even place it at the end and it will also work, right? So in case you want to perform a concatenation, you can also use the spread operator, but the only point to take care of is that you can only use the spread operator when you are actually declaring the array. So at the time of declaration, if you want to perform some kind of concatenation, you can do that using the spread operator. Otherwise, if you have already declared and you are performing concatenation somewhere out, I mean, at some other place, you can just use the concat function. Okay, so let's learn about the rest parameter as well, and we'll learn about the other things later on. So rest parameter is again a kind of application of my, what should I say, um spread operator. And let's see how it's working. So in case of rest parameter, what it does, I think if you have worked on C++ or C or Python, or even if you have worked with command line anytime, you must be aware that we were having some command line parameters in which I can give any number of parameters that I want, and all those parameters were used and were converted into an array. So rest parameter is doing the same thing. So I'm taking a very simple example here. Like I have a display function in which I have two parameters, a and b. So I'm passing 1 and 2 out here, right? And I want to pass n number of elements. I don't know how many elements. It can be small. I mean, it can be 2 elements as well. It can be 3. It can be 10 elements as well. And I want that all those elements are to be combined into a single variable. So how can I do that? I can use the spread operator, and this time it is going to perform a reverse operation, because earlier what we were doing, we were spreading the array into its elements, but this time it is going to combine all the elements and it is going to form an array, right? So let me just execute this code and let's see what happens. Here you can see this is the first element, this is the second element, and all the other elements are combined into a single variable, and I can access this variable, which is nothing but an array. So all the other elements, it doesn't matter how many elements I'm specifying, even if I'm having 7, 8, 9, and 10, all those elements will be combined, and those will be combined and are accessible by an array. So all these elements are combined into a single array, and this is combining because I have used a spread operator over here. So in this case, when you are using the spread operator inside a function and inside a function parameter, it is used as a rest parameter. I mean, it is known as a rest parameter because it consists of all the rest of the elements or rest of the parameters that you are passing inside the function. So that is why it is known as a rest parameter. You can have a name anything. I mean, it can be ABC or something like that. It will also work. Naming convention can be anything, but yeah, it is combining all the elements and it is forming an array. So earlier we saw how we can break an array using the spread operator, and now we see how we can combine multiple elements using the spread operator and form an array, right? So this is a reverse application. Okay, so any questions? I guess, what if we pass an array to the rest parameter? If you pass an array to the rest parameter, let's do that because I haven't done that before. Let's see what happens if we pass an array. I guess it will be again an array inside an array or something like that. I guess so. Let's do that as well. So I have an array like 3, 4, and I'm passing it inside a rest parameter. Let's see what happens. I guess it will be an array inside an array. But any other guesses? If anyone wants to guess what will happen. Okay, let's see. Um, yeah, so it is an array inside an array because rest parameter will take up all the elements and it will convert it into an array. So that is how it is. It is an array inside an array, right? So I hope it's clear. Uh, what if we pass an array in the rest parameter? Okay. Okay, so I just have one last thing, or I can say one last bonus point, which is string to array and array to string. So I'm telling these bonus points because these are very useful for us when we are dealing with Salesforce and when we are getting Apex data. Then it happens that we are using a wrapper and we are getting a data in string and we want to convert it into an array and something like that, right? So in case you want to join all the elements of an array, so this is the last slide. In case you want to join all the elements of an array by a separator and convert them into a string, you can use the join function. And in case you want to split a string and convert it into an array, you can use a split function. And both these functions accept a separator as a parameter, and that separator is used to join the elements or split the elements, right? Let's see it in action, and then I think we'll be able to understand more clearly. Okay, so let's see how we can convert a string to an array first. So I have a string which is named as countries, and it is having different countries like India, USA, Japan, Australia, Bangladesh, right? I want to convert this string into an array. So what can I do? I can simply do countries.split, and I can specify what kind of separator I want to use to split this particular string. So I can say that I want to split this string by using a comma, and all the elements will be splitted by using a comma, and they will be converted into an array, right? So let's run this code and let's see what happens. So here you can see I'm getting an array here, which is nothing but countries array, and it is having different elements: India, USA, Japan, Australia, Bangladesh. So everything depends on this particular separator that you are passing inside your split function. In case, let's say I pass a here, right? So in case I'm not passing comma, I pass a. So all my I mean my whole string will be separated by this particular a's that are happening inside the string. So it will be split by this particular a's and an array will be created. So let me run this code again. Here you can see From A, my string is splitted. So I'm getting the first element as INDI, and then A is not here, and then I'm getting the second element as comma USA comma J, and then A is not here, and I'm getting the third element as P. Then A is not here. I'm getting the fourth element as I think this one, right? N comma ost, sorry, AUSTR. A is not there, and then I'm getting LI. Again, A is not there. So this is how I'm in the string is splitted. So it depends what kind of separator you are passing. So in case you are passing a comma, this string will be splitted by comma and an array is created. In case you are passing a hyphen, so it actually depends how you are joining your string. In case your string is joined by a hyphen, you can pass a hyphen out there. In case it is joined by a comma, you can pass a comma out here. In case these are spaces, you can have a spaces out there as well. So for example, I'm just having spaces instead of commas, so I can use spaces as well. If I run this code, India, USA, Japan, Australia, and Bangladesh. So I can break a string by using a space as well, right? So this is how you can convert a string into an array, right? Now let's see how we can get back our array and how we can create a string. So I think I should not use a different function. We can use this example as well. So let's see, I want to modify my string. I want to break it into an array. And now I want that my new string should be separated by commas, right? So what can I do? I can do like let countries with commas is equal to, I have my countries array. I'm going to join all the elements inside my country array, and I'm going to join these elements by a comma, right? And I'm going to console.log um, countries with commas, I guess, right? And let's see what happens. Here you can see my string originally was this, in which different elements were separated by a space. I split this string, converted it into an array, and this array is having different elements like India, USA, Japan, Australia, Bangladesh, and they are there in an array. Now I'm joining my array by a comma, and I'm forming a string again. So this string is actually having different elements, and this time these elements are separated by a comma. So this is not separated by a string or a sorry. So this is not separated by a space. These are separated by commas, right? And in case you just want to verify, I can use type of countries with comma. So it will give me the type of my variable. And here you can see the type of my variable is string. So it is actually returning me a string, right? So this is how, I mean, you can convert a string into an array by using the split function. You can break the string and you can join different elements of an array and convert it into a string by using the join function, right? I hope it's clear to everyone. So any doubts, any queries? While using join, if the array contains object, will join work? While using join, if the array contains object, I guess it will convert it into a string, but that's a good question. Let's try that as well, because I want to give you an answer right now. So we have a person's array of objects, right? Let's try this because I haven't tried this before. So let person, uh, because join is giving me a string, right, out of an array. So let's say person string is equal to persons dot join, and I can join my elements by using hyphen, let's say, right? And let's say I do console.log person string, and let's see what happens. Okay, so no, in case of object, it will give you something like this: object hyphen object, because it is actually converting an object into a string, so it will give you something like this. It will not work properly. Okay, any other questions? I guess no. So let me just tell this answer to the one last question that Pratika has. A question about JSON. What is the use of JSON.parse and JSON.stringify, and when to use what? Okay, so yeah, you're welcome, Nasru. And when to use what? Let's see. Let's see how we can use JSON.parse and JSON.stringify. So I'm going to use my person's array for this because it is a complex array that we can use to learn about JSON. When we are dealing with Apex and Lightning components in Salesforce, it's better to pass your data to your Lightning component by using JSON.serialize. So if we talk about Apex, we have a method named as JSON.serialize. which is going to serialize your object or a wrapper and convert it into a JSON, right? And when we convert it into a JSON, we can simply return a string from our method, and that string is accepted in your Lightning component. So if you remember, when we work on Aura, we do something like response dot get return value, right? To get the response which is coming from my Apex controller, right? So this return value will be nothing but a JSON string in case I'm returning the JSON from my Apex. Now, if I have a JSON string, how can I convert it into an array? Because if I want to, how can I convert it into an array, or I can convert it into an object as well? Because in case I want to use it in my Lightning component, I should have that JSON string into object. I mean, converted into an object on an array, and it should be stored in a JavaScript variable, right? So this is, I mean, this is a scenario where JSON.stringify and JSON.parse are useful. So let me show you with an example. For example, we have the person's array, and I want to convert it into a string. So I can simply use person JSON. Let me name it as person JSON is equal to JSON.stringify, and I can use persons, and that's it, right? So if I just console.log person JSON, and I think it is that's it, right? Here you can see, I think we have another console.log below somewhere. Yeah, just let me comment this out, and let me just try it again. So yeah, so what it is doing, it is converting my whole array into a string, and this is the JSON string that I'm getting. So JSON basically stands for JavaScript object notation. So whenever you're converting JSON into a string, JavaScript object, sorry, JavaScript object notation, right? So whenever you have to pass, I mean, the main use of this is that whenever you are interacting with a server and a client, or you are interacting with different servers, you have to pass data, and it's better to pass data in a single format, and that is a string format, right? So you can convert your object or your whole array into a string by using the JSON.stringify. So it will automatically convert this whole person's array into a string. So if I do console.log, let's say type of, and then person JSON, we'll be getting a string out here. So you can see here it's a string, right? And once it is converted into a string, I can pass it in. I can pass it from a Lightning component to Apex method, that is from client to server, and I can receive that string into my Apex method, and I can use another method in Salesforce, which is JSON.deserialize serialize, and I can convert this JSON into my wrapper, right? So this is how, I mean, JSON.stringify is working to convert any kind of array or an object into JSON. It doesn't matter if you have an array or an object, both will work. So for example, if I just do persons of 0, so in this case, it will just convert my first object inside the array into a string. So this is a string that I'm getting, right? So you can convert anything, a person or an array or an array of objects, objects of array, anything into string, right? Okay, so what else can we do? Yeah, JSON.parse. So JSON.parse is basically used to convert a JSON string back to an object or an array or whatever it is. So it depends how your string is. So as you can see here, in this case, I have a string, or let me just execute this again. So in this case, I have a string of array, right? So I'm getting this string from my server, but I want to convert this into an array of JavaScript, right? So what can I do? I can simply do let persons1 is equal to JSON.parse, and I can pass here the person's JSON, right? Sorry, person's JSON. Mhm. Uh, Person's JSON, yeah. And I can say console.log persons1. Let's see how it goes. Sorry, it should be persons1. Yeah. So here you can see my string is again converted into an array, and that array is displayed here. So if I do another console.log type of, and then persons1, and I should get here, sorry, it should be persons. Or we can also use array.isArray. So it is giving me object actually, because an array is actually stored as an object in the backend. But if I do like console.log array.isArray, that is why I told you this array.isArray function. So it is going to return me true because it is an array, right? But in actual, I mean, in backend, if we talk about, if you go to the core of JavaScript, an array is actually being stored as an object only. So that's why the type of is giving me object, but it is a JavaScript array. So that is why if you want to check if a variable is array, you should use this function array.isArray. Okay. So this is how, I mean, JSON.stringify and JSON.parse is working. Let's say you want to pass some data from client to server. You can use JSON.stringify to convert all the data into a string, and you can simply receive that in a single parameter as well if you are passing it to Apex. And similarly, if you are getting some data from the Apex, you can receive it in a string, and then you can use JSON.parse to convert it into an object or an array, and accordingly you can use that in JavaScript. So this is how JSON.stringify and JSON.parse are working, and this is how, I mean, it is being used. I mean, for more information about this, I think we can have another session where I am showing you how we are connecting with Apex and we are passing JSON data as well. I have a video for this as well. I'll share the link later on. So I hope it's clear, Ritika. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for giving bonus points. Okay, thank you. So yeah, that's all about string to array. Any kind of questions? I guess we are already done with all the questions. Any kind of questions that you have? Even if you have questions later on, you can connect with me anywhere, on the links that you have on the screen. Let me check if we have any other question. I'll just wait for 10 more seconds. Any questions? Okay, so I guess not. Yeah, then thank you for having me. And these are the references and links that you can refer to. Actually, I always put all my slides on SlideShare whenever I have a session, so you can refer to this slide, and you can also refer to the JavaScript tutorial series that I have on my channel if you want to learn more. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. Over to you, Love.
Hey guys, this is Lavanya. Thank you so much, Rahul. That was a wonderful session.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here.